he doesn't have to be rushed into the lineup. He gets to sit back, watch how these guys conduct themselves, learn the playbook. And if he's ready, he'll get in there. I just think that they're going to take a wait and see approach. I think he's had his share of ups and downs. It sounds like during the training camp, but I mean, how do you argue with TJ Edwards? He's just been a staple, a rock of consistency here. Kaiser White, I mean, they paid him good money for a reason, and he led the Chargers in tackles. So no need to rush him in, but I think what you have is down the line.
Hour number 2 on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365. We're counting down to joint practice. As a matter of fact, the Eagles and the Dolphins get underway in less than half an hour from now. John McMullen is down there. That's why Ric Serritella is here with me. Today is day 18, Ricky. That means 18 days till the opener against the Lions, which, in case you didn't hear me last segment, send it in. The Eagles win easy week number 1. And in part, that's because I think the Eagles are going to have a damn good team this year. But in larger part, the Lions can look real good on Hard Knocks, and Coach Campbell can come up with exciting, emotional quotes. The bottom line is just not a good enough football team to play with the Eagles. So go ahead and send it in. They're going to win week number 1. But I do want to ask you about a couple of Eagle guys coming into this upcoming season. Specifically, they're 2 rookies from Georgia. They go out and take Jordan Davis in the first round, trade up to get him, get in position to grab him. We know they're going to throw him right into the deep end of the pool. He's going to be a situational substitution guy, but when you have Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave already as your starter and a pretty good second-year player, Milton Williams, he's not expected to go in because at Georgia, he didn't play 3 downs. He was a situation substitution guy there too. So they're not going to just play him every single down. How big an impact is he going to have year 1, game 1, right off the bat? How does Jordan Davis change the defensive line, if at all, for the Eagles, Rick?
No, he's an X factor, and we saw it in that first game where he takes up space, he commands attention, he can allow the linebackers to run around him and through the gaps and plug the holes. So, hey, he didn't play more than 60-70% of the snaps at Georgia. So I take a page out of the Fletcher Cox rookie playbook. I mean, he played 50% of the snaps his rookie season. I see a similar role to Jordan Davis. It's probably going to be in run situations. He's going to continue to develop his pass rush. We probably won't see him much on third downs, but I think it also makes Fletcher Cox a better player because he doesn't have to play as many snaps either. And so when you throw him into the mix with Hargrave and you can rotate those 3 guys, you can call on Milton Williams if need be. To me, I think it's a significant upgrade. I think he's going to make a lot of plays. It won't always necessarily show up in the box score, but when you have a guy that is that big, that athletic, I think Jordan Davis is going to play a big impact. And I think his role increases as the season wears on. So maybe the first few games he's playing 30 to 40% of the snaps. By the end of the year, I could see 50 to 60%.
And you're right. If you think that he's coming in and getting 12 sacks as a rookie, not happening. He's not that type of a player. That's not what his job is going to ask him to do. But if Hassan Reddick's getting his sacks and Josh Sweat is getting his sacks, don't kid yourself. In part, that's because they're focusing on Jordan Davis in the middle of the line. You get one-on-ones on the outside. That's when the Eagles pass rushers have to be able to get home and get sacks. All right, behind Jordan Davis is Nakobe Dean, who played behind him at Georgia and had the phenomenal year that he did last year. I couldn't believe he fell all the way to the 3rd round. The undersized knock against him, I don't buy for a second. I think he's going to be able to play on the National Football League with his size. The reason why he might not be a big contributor year 1 is, Kazir White has come in and looked dynamite. DJ Edwards grabbed the starting spot last year and was the Eagles' best linebacker for the last 10, 12 games of the season. They don't need Nakobe Dean to come in and be a major contributor year 1. Will he be able to fight his way into that linebacker mix and get reps here in his first season as an Eagle?
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to fight his way into the rotation because I think it's pretty clear-cut. The veterans have the upper hand here, and I think this is what you really want from a mid-round, 3rd-round pick. I believe is, he doesn't have to be rushed into the lineup. He gets to sit back, watch how these guys conduct themselves, learn the playbook. And if he's ready, he'll get in there. I just think that they're going to take a wait and see approach. I think he's had his share of ups and downs. It sounds like during the training camp, but I mean, how do you argue with TJ Edwards? He's just been a staple, a rock of consistency here. Kaiser White, I mean, they paid him good money for a reason, and he led the Chargers in tackles. So no need to rush him in, but I think what you have is down the line, somebody becomes a free agent. They get squeezed with the cap. They got to extend Jalen Hurts. Well, hey, you've got a starter in waiting that's being groomed to kind of take that step down the road. And again, it just goes back, the good teams around this league are too deep. It's the teams that don't have the depth that don't make the playoffs. And outside of safety, I mean, the Eagles have depth almost at every position. So I think it bodes well for Philadelphia.
I do too. And again, he's a guy who's actually going to play some in the game on Sunday. The one thing that the Eagles have shown here in the preseason is that if you're a rookie, you got to stay in there. It will be I wish Johnny Mack were here because I got to give him his props. When Kelsey went down before the first preseason game, I said you may just see Juergens with his offensive line buddies for the first series and then get him off the field. They kept Juergens in there. He played significantly more than Lane Johnson or Mailata or anybody else because he's a rookie. So they're going to play rookies again this week. So maybe Dean gets a chance to make a couple plays and open some eyes and force himself into the lineup. I'm going to be interested to see if they play Marcus Epps at all. Now, both Johnny Mack and I are Epps fans, and we were before this season started. He actually opened both our eyes last year and said, hey, this guy's going to be in the mix for safety next year. Not only is he in the mix, he's probably their number one safety. Is that because he is that good or because the Eagles really don't have a strong number 2 or 3 or 4 safety? How do you rate Marcus Epps at this time, starting the season as the Eagles' number 1 safety?
Yeah, I think he showed glimpses of his potential a year ago. And much like Jalen Hurts, Marcus Epps is a notorious hard worker. First one in, last one out. I know the staff has called him the hardest working player on the team. And when you prepare that way, well, hey, practice, right? We're talking about practice. He's made improvement. He's a younger player. I think he is going to take that next step and kind of be the top safety there. So I would imagine he's not going to play much, if any, against the Dolphins. I want to see more Reed Blankenship. I want to see what this young man can do. Can he work his way into the equation? And the San Jose State kid, Chichera, has been making plays here and there. I don't think he has a shot. But I would imagine Kayvon Wallace is the guy on the bubble. I think he needs to come up with a big performance here against Miami.
That's fair. Did you like Blankenship coming out this past year in the draft?
Yeah, I think I told this story. He had the same coach at Middle Tennessee as Kevin Byard, an all-pro for the Titans there. And I remember about halfway through his sophomore season, the coach hit me up and said, hey, I got a guy here, and he's further along than Byard is at this stage of his development. And Blankenship ran into some injury woes, for a year or two, didn't really have a strong senior season. I don't think he got the combine invite and then kind of flunked the pro day. But you put on the film, he always showed up around the football. He had a ball hawk nose for the football instincts. And yeah, I think they found a diamond in the rough here. If he doesn't make the roster, I mean, he's got to be a strong practice squad candidate.
He is. He actually played for one of the few guys. They ran a lot of guys out there in the second half against the Browns. And I know it's second team and gets a third team against the fourth team against fourth team. So you have to judge it through that light. But the Eagles' youth in the defensive backfield didn't really do all that much or wow me. Blankenship at least made a couple of plays. Joe made a couple of plays. Didn't make them all, but he made a couple of them. So I'm with you. I think he's going to be an Eagle one way or the other. I don't think he's going to make the 53, but I think he's probably going to be on the practice squad. All right, one other guy that John and I have talked about plenty, and I don't know that you and I have when we've had the chance to do this together, and that's Zack Pascal. Eagles signed him during the offseason. No one was surprised because even when he was still a member of the Indianapolis Colts, Nick Sirianni used to reference him all the time for whatever he liked to revisit. Here's what Zack Pascal does as well as he does. Coach, why don't you give us examples about the Eagle players? He's referencing guys he used to coach. So the first chance they had a chance to grab him up as a free agent, they brought him in here. His Colts numbers don't jump off the page at you by any stretch of the imagination. He's looked pretty good. He looks like he's more than just a blocking wide receiver that Nick Sirianni likes because he, quote unquote, plays the game right. He's actually made a couple of plays. How do you get your fourth wide receiver, if you believe that Quez Watkins is still going to be number 3 behind Watson and Brown? How do you get your fourth wide receiver involved? And how is Sirianni going to get creative, along with Shane Steichen, to get something out of a guy like Zack Pascal?
Yeah, a guy, again, he prepares like a true pro. He's just a consistent guy that shows up, puts in the work. He's not going to wow you or jump off. He did, I think, coming out of Old Dominion, I think he did run pretty well. But, I think here what you have to do is kind of let him back up all those guys. He could line up inside. He could line up outside. Sometimes injuries have a funny way of taking care of who gets on the field. But I think he can kind of slide into either one of those roles if need be. And yeah, you're right. He's not going to probably be in the top 3, maybe even not in the top 4 in receiving. But if somebody goes down, this is a guy you can plug and play and feel pretty good about it. So I like the addition. Again, it's about accumulating that depth. And Zack Pascal is going to be a nice little weapon here for Jalen Hurts, a security blanket underneath.
All right. One last thing that I do want to bring up with you, and then I'm going to bring it up with Marty as well. And if someone wants to alert John McMullen that I'm questioning him when he's not here, or I questioned him yesterday, so I can question him again today too. John, for my own edification, went a little overboard in critiquing the Eagles about not being innovative. That Nick Sirianni was brought in here to be an innovator over at Doug Peterson. He wasn't tremendously innovative last year, but he was successful. They made the playoffs when most people didn't think he was going to make the playoffs. He won 9 games and took a powder in the last game when Coach Peterson had only won 4 the games before. And I thought it was a little heavy-handed on a critique of Nick Sirianni and his offense. Yeah, they don't run a lot of motion. They're dead last in the National Football League in motion. Are the Eagles lacking innovativeness in offense for you, Ric Serritella?
I'm going to reserve my judgment and to be determined because, he's only had 1 season. It was an adjustment and a transition. And so look at, you mentioned Dan Campbell and just watching some of the Hard Knocks. What a renowned sense of confidence he has after – and he had a shot as an intern with the Dolphins a while back, but he'll be the first to tell you he's a new man now. And I think that the same thing with Sirianni, they were questioning him that first half of the season. Who is this guy? Does he belong here? And he was probably questioning himself, right? And then he made the playoffs. He got the team in the hunt. And so I think he comes into the season feeling a little bit more secure. Maybe he opens it up a little bit more. Was it lacking creativity? I guess you can state that argument, but I would say with the personnel that they have, we talked about a three-headed running back committee, weapons at every offensive position. I'm not sure you need to put A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith in motion. You want to move around Quez Watkins and do some end arounds or reverses. Hey, sure. But, how many times a game do you try trick plays? So, I don't know. I think we're nitpicking there, to be honest. I think you've got to really give them another year to wait and see and make that determination.
I don't like when people hedge and you hedge, but it's actually legit because, let's give them at least the second season before we go, where the hell's the innovation? And by the way, not everybody in the league runs RPOs. Everybody has some. The Eagles run a higher percentage than most other teams Why? Because they got Jalen Hurts. They should run that many more RPOs because they've got a quarterback that can actually pull the ball back and, if need be, take off and make plays with his legs. So that's innovative as compared to the rest of the National Football League. And I think you got to give Sirianni at least that much credit for using his guy the way he can best be used. All right, we're coming back. We're going to take a quickie timeout. Rob Motti of the Associated Press, their lead NFL writer, is going to jump aboard with us here on Birds 365.